Do you like what we do here? I would assume so if you're listening to this. We have had a good year for growth this year. We've had substantial growth on all the podcast feeds with new subscribers. We have the new YouTube channel with a bunch of new subscribers there too. But we want to carry this over into 2026 so we can continue to provide high quality entertainment, high quality news, high quality reviews, and all that kind of stuff. So what we're asking for going into next year is, if you have the ability, we're not asking for a lot, you can donate. Go to ko-fi.com/MWP News and make a donation. Everything you do goes towards making sure we can do things. That way I can take days off work to go and cover things early, or, things of that nature. Go to events and talk about them early, see advanced screenings. All that stuff goes into that budget. On top of that, if you can't afford that, and I realize right now things are tough and things are rough out there. If you can't afford that, the easiest thing you can do is subscribe and rate. No matter what you use to get this podcast, you can subscribe. Just hit the follow button, hit subscribe, whatever the button is on your thing, and then rate us. Give us 5 stars. That'll help more people find us, and the more people find us, the more we can, the more we'll be able to do, and we'll be able to get more happening. You can also go to mwpnews.com and sign up for our newsletter. There we will have articles and stuff like that about what we cover on this show. And we will also be doing more gaming content on the YouTube channel. If we can get, with more subscribers on there, we can do more. And that's youtube.com/@MWPnews. And again, thank you for a great year for us. Next year will be better. One of the big issues that I had this year that preempted me from doing a lot of what I wanted to has been resolved with the issue with my car, and that issue has been resolved. So going into this next year, we should be a lot more smooth sailing, but we do need your help to get more people listening and get what we're doing here out there. So just subscribe, tell your friends, and if you have the ability to, and you have the money, and you want to, and you think we're doing a good job, and we've earned that, go to ko-fi.com/MWP News and throw us whatever you think we deserve. And thank you, and enjoy this episode. Good morning, and welcome to Beware Spoilers. I am Adam. We haven't done this in a while. This is nice. An episode about a TV show that's going on weekly, and we've talked about the reasons for this recurrently on this. I had that issue. Hopefully, I don't deal with that anymore, but it is what it is. So, what we have here is the return of a show that we covered 2 years ago for season 1, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the adaptation of Rick Riordan's famous series that spawned a million things. And one of the things that I want to address that he has done that I really, really like is that he wrote the stories about the Greek gods, the Greek mythological based stories. He also he also puts his name to books about other mythology. Norse, I know there's one about Central American mythology, Egyptian. He doesn't write those, but it's kind of under his imprint. It's kind of like his imprint at whatever publisher he's at. And what he does is he lets writers, let sound wrong, but it's it elevates and promotes marginalized creators and lets them have a chance to get their book out there. I mean, I haven't read any of these. I just know they exist. I've been seeing them on the shelves for, it feels like 20 years now. But it's good that he does that. The elevation of other artists is something we always appreciate on this show, and like allowing them to really just amplifying their voice, because like that's the thing, is that it's like you can put these books out there and you can be like, look, we have this book, but it means nothing. You say Rick Riordan presents, presented by the guy who did Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Here's another thing like that, but with different mythology. That's something that's going to get people to read it, and that's going to help out that that writer in a way they wouldn't have had before. But I digress on that fact. So, just to recap, for those who don't remember from when I did this last year, I have not read the Percy Jackson books. I have not watched the movies. I've never seen either of the two with Logan Lerman and Alexandra Daddario. I know they exist. I know the movies were not well received. But I know that, I from what I can gather, I mean, at least from the people who I talked to at work who... What the fuck are you doing? The people at work who have read these books and have watched this show, it's kind of like people like slightly younger than me, because my brother was really into this shit. And people at work who are around his age get into this. And it's like they really liked what was going on in this show. They thought the show was very well done. They very much tuned in for it every week. It's that kind of thing that, like, okay, well, that tells me that they did a good job. So we will see. But I can say, based on these two episodes, I'm enjoying this show. And I'm enjoying it as much as I enjoyed season 1, which is to say a lot. I think that the 2-year gap between seasons is something that not just this, but I would say all of, streaming has to grapple with, because like there's so much that I do not remember. And the other thing to work on is promoting these things, because I forgot this was coming back out entirely. To the point that it came back, I was like, oh shit, right, Percy Jackson's back. Which is why it wasn't on the schedule that I put up on mwpnews.com. I totally forgot the show was coming back this year. But I digress, and here we are. We've now watched it. The point in all of this is, I think this is an interesting situation. So the basic situation that they've started off with this season is Grover has gone missing. He went off last season. He went off to find Pan, and that has, he's now just gone. And what is, where is he? Oh, he went looking for the Golden Fleece, from Jason and the Argonauts. It has the power to heal anything. Who wants it? Kronos wants it. They got to get it first, because that's the other thing, is that the tree at the center of Camp Half-Blood that provides a protective shield has been poisoned, and they need the Golden Fleece, because the Golden Fleece can heal anything. So they got to do that. I like Jonah from Veep as the new head of the camp. I like his performance there. He's got a very dry and deadpan delivery that works very well for what that character is. Tarantus, I think his name is. He's good. I mean, it's like you got some. His timing makes things that could just be straight delivery into comedic lines, and I think that works very well. The other thing that I liked, the other thing that made me laugh out loud was when they get in the car with the Fates, into the taxi with the Fates, and they're going to Camp Half-Blood. It's him, his buddy the Cyclops, and what's her name, and Annabeth. They're all in this cab. And you have the Fates who are driving, and it's these 3 old women. They share one eye, and the Cyclops goes, shouldn't the one driving get the eye, like that? Like, it's like, yeah, that's a great question. But I did really appreciate this season. I think that what we're going to be moving, like, this series, from what I can gather from season 1 and season 2, is that this has a more concrete, and again, I'm going to use Harry Potter as a cultural touchstone because, like, number one, J.K. Rowling is an awful person. We know that, so I acknowledge that. But, like, for me, growing up, I read Harry Potter. Percy Jackson wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I mean, which sounds weird because my brother's only like 18 months younger than me. But it's one of those things where it's like, it wasn't really a thing that I read. So, whatever it is, what it is. And the issue with this is, like, Harry Potter wasn't big on romantic relationships for a good amount of its run. It doesn't take until like book 4 or book 5 until we start getting there, if I remember correctly. And this, it seems very clear that, like, the end game, like, pairing is Percy and Annabeth. Like, that is very clear almost from the jump that these two are going to end up romantically involved, and that's kind of what this is. And you get this distance that forms from the two of them because she has information that she can't tell him. Plus, something also happened over the summer that she's not telling him, and then she eventually does tell him. This idea of, like, yeah, I was going to go back to school, and it's like, that's just not who I am. And it felt very, Gilgamesh. Like, she's someone who, unlike Percy had kind of the, you're normal until you're not upbringing, which is your standard hero's journey. She's someone who always grew up in this system. She grew up knowing that she was a descendant of the gods. She grew up, like, knowing that. So this idea of, like, oh, she's going to go to regular school, and she's going to go to, she's going to go to Disney World and go on roller coasters. And she's like, yeah, that didn't really interest me at all. Like, when you've done the stuff that they've done, it's like, well, yeah, that's nothing. And it's like, oh, it's just they have two entirely different things. And then you get to this fundamental question of, like, why is she hiding this from him and all that? Now, we're going to get answers to that later on in the show, I feel like. What's the big reveal here that can't be, done, can't be undone. I'm going to be interested to see what that is, but we'll see as that goes on. You would think you would put a little bit more effort into the CGI on the Cyclops dude if he's going to be in the show as much as he is. I feel like there's a way to make that look better. It's just, it doesn't look great at all. That's just kind of all I got on that. It's just like the amount of time he's on screen for him to look bad. It's like, I get you have a stretched budget, and I would assume that this is not a deviation from the book where they're like, hey, we're just going to make this guy into a major character and be done with it. Like, I feel like this is a decision that was made based on canon, and that was something that you would think you would put a lot of effort into. Because he looks kind of like a Shrek character a good amount of the time, or at least, like, he looks like a pre-rendered version of a character that would look a lot better later on. And that's just something that is just a little weird. Especially considering, like, this is Disney, who has done better looking, CGI de-aging and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't quite we're superimposing a dead person's face onto a living person, like we saw with Peter Cushing returning from the dead in Rogue One, or, I mean, Carrie Fisher being de-aged because she had just died when Rogue One came out, but they de-aged her. Same with Luke and Leia in Rise of Skywalker. Same with Luke and the Mandalorian and in Book of Boba Fett. They can do this and have it looks uncanny. But to an extent, I kind of would rather it look uncanny than look unfinished, which is kind of what the Cyclops looks like. I forgot his name, but he kind of looks like unfinished CGI, and I think that's kind of a disappointment in and of itself. Which does kind of like, it breaks the immersion to an extent. I think Uncanny is like, oh, this doesn't look 100% right, and something's definitely off about this thing existing in this state, but it is what it is. And I think, too, part of that might be we know what these characters look like when these actors actually look like this, and we know how they move. Like, it's like the issue with, like, Robert De Niro being de-aged for The Irishman, where it's like, yeah, he looks like Robert De Niro in Goodfellas, but he's moving like an 80-year-old man. Like, you got to do a stand-in there. Like, I get what you're doing, but, like, you got to have a stand-in and do the action. But yeah, I appreciated what they did with these first 2 episodes. I think that I'm going to tune in every week to see what's going on next. And I like this cast. I think this cast is very good. And I think what's interesting, too, is that it's like, again, going back to I forgot about this aspect of it. It's like, maybe it is the fact that it's on streaming. And maybe there is something to the idea that, like, oh, well, streaming isn't exactly... Well, like, there's the conversation that happens about, like, you know, if you go to a Disney park, there's very little in the Disney park that relates to Disney Junior or Disney Channel. That was never something big in the park, which is weird considering, like, if you ask someone what they watch, you know, or who they know, it's going to be based on TV shows. So, like, famously, like, Robin Williams always said the character that people recognized him for most was Mork from Mork and Mindy, because that was something you were on TV in millions of people's homes every night. And yeah, it was a different time because there was more of a monoculture, because there was more gatekeeping about what gets on, there were less options, and now, you know, if you like something, there will be something made to your liking, basically. But the idea that, like, something like this is big, probably one of the last big budget projects for Disney Plus, because they appear to be migrating away from this. But the fact that this should come out with minimal advertising is kind of questionable, to the point where I almost question if they're setting it up to fail. Because it's like, if we put this out with no advertising and no one knows it's coming out, then no one will watch it. And if no one watches it, we can cancel it. And I feel like that's kind of what they're doing here. Because we've seen the culling from Star Wars. Like, next year is the first year since Disney Plus launched that we don't have a new Star Wars property. Every year since 2019, there's been a new show in live action about Star Wars. What was the one in 2020? Maybe not. Maybe since 2020. Either way, it's like, if you have 1 year, like, it's weird that that's where we are, and there's nothing on the horizon. We have not heard anything about Skeleton Crew. We have not heard anything about, you know, Ahsoka's probably not getting picked up past season 2. It's just one of those things where it's like, this is just it. This is just the end of that line. And it's like, oh, well, okay. Next year we have Daredevil from Marvel. Next year we have, what was it? What was the other one? We have Daredevil. We have Vision Quest. Wonder Man's getting dumped out in January. And it's just like, well, what are we doing here? What's going on here? Like, that's the thing, is that it's like all this big budget stuff on Disney Plus is kind of going by the wayside. And the question is, like, well, what are we doing? Is this just Disney counting on this new contract with OpenAI to have Sora generate new content and that be the Disney Plus content? Is that where we are? Like, with streaming? If that's where we are with streaming, then what the fuck? Maybe that's why Netflix is willing to pay all this money for Warner Brothers. They're like, hey, we need IP. to be able to compete. But I digress. I do think that there's a possibility that could happen here, where they're just like, fuck it, put it out. If he will watch it, great, we'll renew it. If not, we won't, and that's it. Which is a shame, because I would like to see the story go on. I would like to see where this entire saga goes, although if they end up canceling, I may guess end up reading the books. But we'll see. I think that was the thing, too, is that it's like part of the issue was the movies didn't quite match what happened in the books, which is why, like, when they announced it, they were like, oh, and Rick Riordan is directly involved. It was a big fucking deal. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, which will be later today, about Ella McKay, have a great rest of your week.